Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another video in the How to Edit Wedding Photos series. You can watch more of these videos in the playlist on the channel. Today we're looking at the editing of Amy and Iain at Jesmond Dene House in Newcastle. So come with me as I jump over to the computer and start the edit. So here we are guys at the computer for Amy and Iain. So this wedding was shot on the 22nd of October 2021, so nearly into November. So I think from recollection it was quite a bright day. I don't think it was hot, but it wasn't cold either. But obviously as we go through these images, these are 2021. So two and a half years from now. So I used to shoot a little bit differently back then. So you might see some different shooting approaches or poses. I think back then I was still using a bit of flash. Yeah, my compositions are probably a bit off, but it's worth going back and showing you sort of how I'd probably edit them now, just to sort of try and bring them in line with up-to-date standards basically. I think this was my first time at this venue as well. It was called Jesmond Dene House, and I'll walk you through how I tackled it basically, because it's quite a dingy room. It's a very dingy room. I mean, yeah, we'll get to it. Let's just start. So we've got 61 images. I may take some out. 61's a bit too many. Yeah. Goodbye. Right, so we've got 34 images to look through. So let's just crack on. Let's go select all, develop, and then let's go color. Let me have a look at a different image just so I can sort of see it. Let's go to library module, and then I've got the disk ejected, so everything should work a bit faster. Add the exporter, temperature in, 2 tints, 1 single large tint, and it's pretty much good to go. Because of the time of year, I think what I might do is add a third temperature. As I said, depending on certain images and time of year, I will add 3 temperatures. I mean, I tend to add some more anyway sometimes when we're doing the editing, but if I can just get that base right. And then let's deselect and then just work through them, guys. Right, so that needs cropping in straight away. So I'd love to crop it so her face was sort of here, but then I'm just chopping this girl's hand off and I feel like it needs to sort of be in the frame. Let's pull that down. Right, I'm going dark so I can see what I'm doing. Right, let's pull this back. Basic panel, before and after. Very simple. Let's move on. Okay, and pull this back. Needs a bit of magenta. Pull it back again. So I'm just looking over here. I'm not looking at anything else. And then all we can do is either use a brush or a gradient, and we can just draw some exposure back in on this. I'm just shooting along a television to create that reflection. Again, I don't do too much gimmicky stuff these days with like this sort of reflection. I might still use reflections, but I'd probably make it a bit less obvious it was a television, but it still looks an interesting photo. The original shot was like this, so I've just cropped in and gotten rid of the ring light. I've probably ended up cloning some of it out, I would imagine. So let's just try and clone some of that out. There we go, easy peasy. That black dot on the window frame's annoying me. Goodbye. So it's a very clean image. Just pull the exposure down a little bit. And that looks good. Before and after. We're outside. Again, I'd probably shot this now, I would be a lot closer. I've shot this on the 35 as well. Just find context. We're shooting through the groomsmead, so let's just pull this in. We've got a car park in the background. There's no way I'll be able to get rid of that car, so we're just gonna have to live with that. And let's just pull the exposure down. We can already see we get this sort of band effect, and that's because it needs more warmth, and it's because it's so blue outside. So as I pull the temperature up, you'll see that disappear on his forehead. So I have to pull it down. You can sort of see what I mean. It creates like a. That's how I know if it needs more warmth or not. So I'm going to go right up to 6800, and that's took all that out. But now it needs a bit of magenta. Pull the exposure again, and we get a lovely image. So before, very cold, very blue. We're nearly in November. Now we're not. Lovely. Right, let's see what they say. Should we try this first before the edit? See if we can get rid of this hard light on her dress. So try that one first. Right, and I'm just going to go for it. See what happens. I bet it doesn't do a good job. Yeah, it's not bad. Let's have a look. And then we might be able to just burn it down afterwards. Let's have a look. We're getting there with multiple, but let's have a look. Let's get rid of the pocket. Just the lines do me heading. Right, I wonder if we burn it. Let's see what. Yeah, it's a bit less distracting now. Just, what do we reckon? Let's leave it for now. Right, let's crop this in, straighten it up a bit. See if we can get rid of this lamp to start with. Did a pretty bad job there, but the second one should do it, I would imagine. Yep, and then little mark there. Let's get rid of that. Don't think we'll be able to get rid of this line here. Should we have a go? Let's have a go. If this removes this, I will be impressed. Nah, awful. Right, let's add a subject pop to them. So just turn it over, pop, and then just pull it down a little bit. Bit magentas, good to go. Okay, next image. Okay, so let's just pull the exposure down straight away. A bit more magentas, a bit more warmth before and after. Moving on, Dad comes in, get rid of all them wires in the bottom, just straighten it up a little bit. Pull that exposure down, bit more magenta, bit more warmth. Yeah, it looks nice. Let's move on. So probably just apply the same, rotate it around a bit more, just straighten that pillar up. Just get rid of the wires. So now obviously they're a bit dark, so I'm just going to do a subject pop. That'll probably go onto these two as well, which it did. So let's just take that off and then lift the entire image a tiny bit, because they're obviously all the way back there. Okay. I think I did this colour, but should we do a black and white? Yeah, let's go for a black and white. Been a while. Okay, so I've got a lot of light on him, so I'm just literally looking at this bit here. So it's going to be a heavy crop. Yeah, and then just pull it back out a little bit. Just cleans it up straight away, before and after. Lovely. Right, so again, this will be flashed, but the room is so dark. But back then, when I used to shoot, I mean, this is half the problem. I've used flash, but my ISO is only at 800, so it looks flashed. Whereas these days, if I use flash, I ride my ISO first and then introduce a small amount of flash, so it looks very natural. So we're just going to have to pull this down, bit of magenta, and then it's probably good. Next image. So bride's walking down. Again, got this bright orange light right next to where they're going to get married. So hence why everything's so orange. So add a bit of magenta, and then let's back the temperature off a bit in this environment before and after. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so you can just sort of see it's like such a bright orange light hitting them. So, thankfully that venue has now got rid of that light. There's a sign up here, so let's get rid of that. Okay, pull the oranges, bit more magenta. Let's keep pulling the oranges, not too much, because we start introducing where you see highlights in the cold, we get this effect here. So if I go too far, so it's got to have sort of right amount to straighten up a little. Right, I'm happy with that. Moving on, same sort of thing. Let's just apply what we did before. Remember to take away the heels. Okay, straighten it up. Videographer at the back, big tripod, pull that down. And again, it's too warm, so I mean, got bright orange lights, and then we've actually got candles and everything as well. It's like orange galore. Right, lovely. Right, can we do anything about this? Yep. And yep. And let's do one big section, see if we can get rid of all that shadows. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see if we can straighten this back up a little bit. That'll do. Right. And then little mark there, get rid of that. Yeah, not too bad. Before, after. I've had this in colour and black and white over the years when I've done the re-edits. If anything, it needs the highlights pulled here. Add some magentas, pull it down, pull the oranges out of it a little bit. I might add a tiny bit of contrast. Again, don't usually do that too much these days. Let's add some more exposure, pull it back. So before and after, someone's crying, black and white always tends to work. So shot this through the bride's mum and dad. Let's just go black and white, and then let's draw some exposure in on her, pull it back. Quite happy with that. Let's move it on. Composition, wow. Tilt down ray, old ray. Let's pull this back, pull it into here. Again, see, it's very bright outside, but it's very blue. So let's pull that down. And then might have a bit of dehairs and clarity put in, tiniest amount, 7 and 3. And then I'm going to add a bit more warmth. And then a bit more magenta, pull it back. I'm going to add a tiny bit of dodge on this side because he's in the shadow. So before, very, very blue. And then after. Okay, again, these days, why is there so much space above their heads? Just tilt your cameras down, guys, get the feet in, just pull it in a little bit, center them up, yeah, and just pull the exposure down, bit more warmth, bit more magentas, right. And the problem we have is this crowd of people have obviously blocked all of the light from this bottom part of the image, so let's just lift this up a little bit, just try and balance it. Again, they've used this purple stuff, but they've done at least, they've got hordes of it, which is great. Probably going to have to just, oops, okay, on the keyboard. Let's pull the highlights down on some of this really strong areas. So I've sort of left his face alone a little bit, but I'm just going to pull that back off, it's too strong. So just trying to balance it. So if I take it on and off, just balance that image a little bit. And I'm quite happy with that. Okay, next one, just lift the exposure, just create a bit of dodge in there, subject pop, bit more magenta, a bit more warmth, and then I might just pull it in a bit, just try and focus. Yeah, it's good to go. Next one, again, nice image, let's pull it in. Obviously this is all just the drink reception, ceremony's just finished, they've come outside. Again, you can have some influence. I know the confetti was happening outside and they were sort of going to go into drinks, cuddles anyway, but sometimes people want to get inside. But if you tell the bride and groom sometimes, look, if you stay out for 5 minutes, I've done this before at places like Middleton Lodge, and then people will stay out for 5-10 minutes so you can get some like photos in the nice light. So before and after, again, let's just pull this in. I'll concentrate on the groom. Very, very strong light from the sun. So if I want to control down the highlights, the rest of the image goes very dark. So let's add in some dodge and then just maybe bring it up a tiny bit. It's one of the things when you're dealing with such harsh sunlight, you know, you just can't expose the entire thing. Next one. So we came inside, we can sort of see the light coming from the windows is blowing everyone out on that side. Even here, it's just such a hard light. It's one of the things, there's no right or wrong way of tackling extreme hard light. You've just got to do the best you can, guys. So let's pull that down. A bit of warmth, a bit more magentas, and then I'm going to add a tiny bit of contrast back. So again, just sometimes the image can look a little flat, but adding that 10 on the contrast just helps it out. Cool. Next image. Same sort of thing here. I would probably just add a tiny bit of dodge on this side of the image, and then we'll just sort of pull it back everywhere else. Bit of magenta, just going to pull it in a tiny bit. Let's go to here.
We're back out a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Too much of this guy's shoulder. Do you know what? I'm just going to not edit that one. We could do, but obviously I want these to update the blog, so I'm just selecting stuff that I want to put in. That'll do. I might go black and white for this one. It's easy to edit in colour, but that looks nice in black and white. Right, here we go. Let's pull this in. So you can see a bit more of the backdrop because I've shot this at 2.8, because obviously I want to make sure they're all sharp if they're not on a straight line, which they obviously aren't. So let's just, let's see a lot of blue light, so let's just pull the exposure down. Bit more magentas, and then add a tiny bit of more warmth in there. That looks nice. Moving on. Again, I'll probably just click up here somewhere. I need to introduce a lot of warmth, and then add some magentas, and just scale it back. Sometimes it's better to go too far and then rein it back in. So then just about there really. Subject pop. So before and after. It's very blue to much better, and then same sort of thing to pull this in a little bit. You sort of see we've got that blue light banding on there, so very blue when I shot this. So I'm just going to lift it up and then add some magentas. So when I know it's going to need a lot, I'll just use the sliders and my mouse. And let's pull the exposures a little bit. So he's a lot brighter than she is, so I'm just going to do a subject pop, and I'm going to then take that off of him just to brighten her up. And pull the magentas back a tiny bit and then exposure down. So before we sort of had this, so that was before. So if anything, it's a bit too green. So now colour correct. Right, moving on, waterfall shot. So again, we're just going to do what we've basically just done in the last image. If I apply previous, that'll probably get us there pretty much. So let's just pull this down, and then it is green, so I'm going to pump in the magentas, a bit more warmth. Nice. So if I look at the before and after, so before, again, a little bit more green, a little bit more exposed, to now, nice. I feel like it needs to rotate. There we go. Right, moving on, nice cake shot, just pull that down, and then just pull this exposure back, and then a bit of magentas. Yeah, how's that looking? Yeah, that looks nice. Next image, pull the exposure down, I'm probably good to go, I would imagine. So I'm just looking up here to start with, and then I'm going to add some pop back down here. Nice, moving on, same thing, let's just pull the exposure, looks good. Just pull it in a tiny bit, guys, then rotate it slightly. Nice, center these guys up. I'm going to subject pop them to start with, and then I'm going to add in the magentas because it's surrounded by green. And I can see on his head, he's got the band, so it does. Right, it needed warmth anyway, but that just confirmed it. So I'm just going to add the warmth until that a majority of that goes. Add some more magentas, and then we're pretty much there. So very blue to correct, and 2 more images. I'll apply what I've just done, straighten them up, and then it needs pulling back. So obviously this area is a lot darker than the floor, so if I just lift the rest of it up and then pull it all back, it just balances it a little bit better. And then I'll add a second little dodge on their faces, and then I can see it needs a bit more magentas, this one, and then pull the warmth out a little bit and then just pull it down, just crop it in a tiny bit more. Nice. And then pretty much if I go back to this one, we'll use the same sort of colouring. Paste previous, pretty much good to go. Pull it down a little bit. So if I select those 3 and these 3 from the shoot, and then straight away we get a nice cohesive set. That looks really nice. So it's still loading in. So nice little set of images, but we're done. So if I bring the entire set up, we've edited 33. So we took it down by half. It was 61. So this is the final set. So before we go, guys, I've remembered I did some drone shots with these guys. This might be in the wedding where I lost my drone in a tree, because there was the other drone as well from the videographer. We both had the same drone, and I thought I was looking at his. I was looking at mine, but I was looking at his, and I moved mine straight in the top of a tree. Anyway, I thought we could, they're quite nice images still. I managed to download the JPEGs from the drone, because my phone was still connected to it, even though it was in a tree. And we just couldn't get it. It was, I think it was even this tree here, and it was sort of hanging over the Dene. There was no way I could get up there. So £800 drone, written off, leave it there, move on. So yeah, I think that was the wedding. So we got the JPEG anyway, so I thought let's have a quick look at editing these 2 JPEGs from the drone before we end the video. Right, develop, and let's reset them because they need some work. Reset. Okay, yeah, so it was this tree it landed in. It was right up here. So this is reset, but this branch doesn't half look like it's a clone gone wrong, doesn't it? So I'm going to fix that. It just looks wrong. Can I get rid of that? Yeah, and let's blend it in a bit. Yeah, just looked wrong. Right. Let's make sure the other drone isn't somewhere in the photo. It's a coffee cup down there, so let's get rid of that. Looks fine to me. There it is. Is that another drone? Yep, sure, that's the other drone. Get rid of that. Right, so first thing first, give it a proper crop. So a 3x2. Pull this down. Should we go more centralized? Yeah. Right. Add the color. So now we're applying my preset, but we're applying it to a drone photo, and it's a flat JPEG. So the colors will be affected somewhat. So let's add in some warmth. See, the warmth affects the brightness as well on a flat JPEG, so it's quite funny. Let's add some magentas, sort of getting it to where I want it to be. Pull it off a little bit, and then let's pull the exposure down because we sort of want them. So obviously she's in bright white, so it just stands out quite a lot. Let's see if we can control the highlights up the top here. I might just caught her a little bit that off. And then I wonder if would it detect the subjects when they're that small. Let's have a look. It somewhat did. Got the bridge as well. So I'm just going to try and lift him, the groom, him. So let's take it off everything else. So let me zoom back out to 100. Fit, sorry. There we go. And then just take it off everything else. So if I take that on and off, there's a bit down here. It's just lifting him up a little bit. And then I might add a bit of contrast for him because he looks a bit washed. I don't think we'd be able to sort the highlights out on here. That looks a little bit like it's gone. So let's pull the exposure again and again. Bit more magenta. Feel we're getting there. Feel like we've done quite well to sort of make it look how I would shoot that now with a raw image, considering it's a flat JPEG. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a burn, a radial burn. And I'm just going to drag that around a couple. So bring that down a bit so it's too much. And then I'm going to flip that radial, invert, and just pull that attention into them. So we've gone before, after. And this is, again, it's just a JPEG. This little bit of pool of water is slightly detracting my eye. So let's see if I can just get rid of it. Yeah, not bad. Right, quite happy with that. Looks pretty good. Let's move on to the next one. So this one is not too long before I actually crashed the drone. To be honest, I might not do this one. I think it's going to be hard to isolate them on all of these leaves at the back. Just reset that. There's the other drone. Let's just put the paste previous. I know I'll have to redo the masks and everything, and just sort of see if it's worth editing it. So these are 48 megapixels. Yeah, I think they're a bit lost. It's a bit easier to see them on the other image, so I'm not going to bother. So come out of that. And we'll stick with this one. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Thanks for watching along, guys, and I'll see you in another editing video. See you later. Toodaloos.